Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a podcast dedicated to talking about all things happening in the sport of triathlon. It is, of course, Talking Triathlon, and I am, of course, Tim Ford, joined by the man, the legend, the myth, James Bale himself. Jimbo, how you going, mate?
Not too bad. I've just come down off the high of Lionel Sanders winning last week, to be honest. I've been floating up somewhere in the stratosphere, and it's only the last couple of days I've started to come back down again after the excitement of last week.
And you didn't have another rise again after all the excitement in Singapore. Oh, sorry, not even Singapore.
It was
We
pretty
should,
good, wasn't it? To be
yeah.
honest. I mean, we're going to go into detail about it later, but it was pretty fucking good this weekend.
Well, yeah. I think we have some. It's going to
We
be a good
might be on
discussion.
slightly different sides of the fence when it
I,
comes down to the detail.
The one thing I want to start with though is because I know that during the women's race in particular, I sent you this tweet that I put up because I was really proud of it. I thought I have come up with a very funny joke about the status of this, and I said the difference between the men's and women, the difference between the T100 broadcast in Miami and Singapore is night and day. And I thought that's very funny because in Miami it was dark and
It
everybody
was
took it
very funny.
super literally. I was like,
Everyone took it literally.
yeah,
And someone actually screenshot it and sent it to the both of us with a
yeah. But again, I still think it was much better. But I was like, I was really proud of the joke, and I'm very rarely like, very proud of a tweet. But then it was like nobody got it. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's too high level for people. But yeah, we will
I
definitely
got it.
talk. You did.
I found it. I retweeted it, I think.
You did. You did.
Re-exed it.
And then again, I just saw all the fucking like, I'll give them 5 minutes, and it's like, fuck, here we go again. Like good old triathlon,
Yeah.
doing what triathlon does. Of course, we will talk about Singapore. We have lots of thoughts to talk about Singapore. We're going to talk about so what is it called now? The Super Tri E Sports Games or whatever that is. That happened, of course, with New World Champions crowned. Bits and pieces. We'll get into it. But before that, mate, what's going on in James Bale's world apart from coming down from the high of Lionel Sanders winning a few weeks ago?
What's going on? I'm frustrated at the moment because I just started getting back to training, and then I got this coldy fluey thing that everyone seems to have had. So I'm a frustrated athlete at the moment, mate, if I'm honest. I'm sort of raring to go. I'm still lifting weights, I'm still doing all the strength work. I'm just raring to go on the swim bike run, and I'm being held back by this cough, which actually got in the way of us starting this episode. We had to restart because I had a bit of a coughing moment, and it won't go away. It's sitting on my chest. So other than that, life's pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, you have an event to train for, so you need to
I
make
know that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I'm raring to go, mate.
I
I'm solidly know that the weeks are slipping by, and before I know it, it's going to be the end of July, and I'm going to be lined up at T100 London.
I entered T100 London yesterday, and one of the questions when register and it says, "Is there a particular person you'd like to start in the same wave with?" And I thought to myself, "Do I want to start with James Bale?" And I thought,
You fucking don't.
no, he'll slow me down. So I just
Yeah,
went, no, why not?
yeah.
Oh.
One of us, preferably you, would be in the fucking wrong wave, mate.
Yes.
Because if I was in your wave, then I'm in the wrong place for the way I am right now.
Yeah. No, yeah, things actually, I did my biggest ever run week last week. I think I told you I did like 80K of running and the foot's
Oh, nice.
better. So just time to get good again, which is nice. I don't know.
I
I've
have
had
entered the Bristol 10K in a few
ah
weeks. Just a
fuck 10K. 10K is
little
the worst
10K.
distance. It's the worst distance to run. Give me a 5K or a half marathon over a 10K all the
Yeah, the
time.
half marathon was actually fully booked. That's what I logged on to enter. But the half marathon was fully booked, so I just did the 10K because I'm going to be there anyway.
Well, surely you knew a guy. Like, you just be like, I'm the sexiest voice in triathlon. Like, give
There
me
was a
a.
moment, it crossed my mind just to send them an email and say, hang on a second.
Do you know
Do you
who
know?
I am?
But then I dismissed that instantly and thought, well, that's not going to work, is it?
Because that's what I'm sure organizations love that when people be like, "Do you know who I am?" No, what was I gonna say? I don't even know. Yeah, training's going good. Yeah, going to London T100, looking forward to it. Got a few of the races. I got Cairns 70.3 coming up, T100 London. I'm really starting to actually plan out my season because I've got Taupo World Champs at the end of the year. So I want to do another. I want to do like three or four 7.3s before that. I want to actually try to race myself back into some sort of form. Would be nice because I've been shithouse for so long. So
Is
we'll see.
Taupo a race you can go fast at?
Nope. Nope,
No.
I mean, yeah, relative, right? But it's just it's a world championship field. I actually don't even know what the course is, but it's tradition. I mean, New Zealand roads they seem to actually suck the speed out of your bike. Like they're just that sort of loose, hot chip, rough surface, but it's wonderful. Like I actually really like the course. I mean, the traditional course in Taupo, I really like. It's a really an honest, strength-based course. And then the run, I mean, the water's going to be freezing, like actually freezing. Get excited about Taupo if you're coming, guys. Water's going to be freezing. And I mean, like, you're going to go numb in the water, but it's beautiful, crystal clear water. Then you've got this, loose chip, bumpy ass fucking ride. It's lots of hills, which is good fun. And then the run is, if it's what it used to be, there used to be this awful hill. You used to have to go this like awful, awful hill up to the transition area. I don't think that's on the, I don't know. I don't know if that is the course this year, but yeah, it's a good race. I've done it a few times and always had a really good time in Topor. So it'll be good world champs. Uh, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be a beautiful. It's a beautiful course, isn't it?
Yeah, wonderful part of the world too, and
Stunning location.
the entire town gets behind. That when they have Ironman events in Topor, they get like the town froths over it. So yeah, it's I'm excited to go back. I got my accommodation sorted a little while ago as well, which is nice because I know that I mean, it's something we don't talk about enough here, but I think the same things happened in Topor that happened in Finland last year with, Ironman sort of booking out all the accommodation. Then you have to go through Ironman to get your accommodation sorted,
Mm.
which is just the worst practice that needs to stop because it's putting so many people off race. I mean, I know people I mean, we know people who've qualified and because it's so hard to get accommodation, they're not racing anymore. So I may need to do something about that. But anyway, that's not where
And
I
is it
intend.
more expensive going through them?
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
this
they
is
just put a premium on it.
it's even interesting. Here's just because where we're at. I think last week we touched on the Oceanside thing and the fact that an entry was what did I say it was like 400 $590 or something. I can't remember what the actual number was, but I know that one of our listeners, Jaime, who I know Jaime really well, is a Mexican guy, and he's done the uh 70.3 Oceanside a lot. He was saying, "Oh, mate, like that's just the standard price of how much these races cost." And I said, "What the fuck? Like if it's hang on, let me find it's yeah, 460 US dollars to enter Oceanside." And I was like, "That's expensive." And then I showed him Can 70.3, which I'm doing at the moment. So they do that tiered pricing thing.
Mm.
Tier 5 at the moment for cans is 620 Australian dollars, which is that's a fuckload of money to do it. So like
It's
70.3.
about £10, isn't it?
Probably. Yeah, we use sorry,
How much is did you say?
620 Australian dollars. So what's that? Probably 300 pounds?
I don't know. I'm having a look.
Yeah, it'd be about 300 pounds. Almost I think it'd be just over like 300.
£319.
Yeah. It's a lot, mate.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot.
And it just seems to be this trend, right? Where all the races are getting more and more and more expensive. And it's like, no wonder people are doing less of them. If people keep going on about all these
Mm.
other factors for why people are doing less triathlons. I was like, that's why. Because you're almost paying
Yeah.
$1,000 to do a
Yeah. Yeah.
70.3. It's getting out of hand a little bit, I think. So, and you know what, Ironman, I don't want to fucking finish a shirt. I don't need the backpack. Just let me do my race and get my medal and I'm good. Like, so I don't know. I don't know, but they need to do something. Look, I do it at the start of every episode. If you guys want to support the podcast, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. I think it's going to be a good one this month, mate, with well, it's always fun after the T100 events to get our teeth really stuck into what's happened, but there's been plenty of other bits and pieces that have happened. We just did another bonus episode last week, so we've had a few new signups as well. Thank you to everybody who has. We appreciate you guys. We have now got a Strava group as well. Maybe James Bay will start posting his training on Strava because he took a bit of a hiatus for, I don't know, 4 years on Strava. Uh, the WhatsApp group, I know that one of our new patrons, I actually saw this morning because there was people discussing it. And I saw one of our, I think it was Lewis, commented and he said, "This is my first week as a patron." He goes, "This WhatsApp group hasn't disappointed." So good to hear
Yeah.
people are getting their
Too right.
money's worth. But it went off all weekend with the T100 events. I really do enjoy watching these races with like a community to chat through the races with. And Dave Tilbury Davis, the coach of Ash Gentle and Josh Amberger and Amelia Watkinson, he was on the ground. He was giving us, like inside tips on, based on the conditions and
Yeah, he
stuff
was
like that.
dropping in the audio notes into the WhatsApp group, giving us insight into the splits and the strategy. It was really interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you enjoy this podcast and you want to get a little bit more, help us out a little bit, patreon.com/talking triathlon. Jimbo, the first thing we should talk about is the news that Holly Lawrence and her husband are expecting their first baby in October this year.
Congratulations, both. What an awesome news to find on the triathlon newsosphere
And
today. It was
yeah,
excellent.
I just also like, again, it's one of those things I like to use the opportunity to talk about the fact that the PTO has that maternity leave policy as well. So for Holly, it means that she has a lot more certainty. And it's one of the, in my opinion, at least one of the real positive things that the PTO, we talk a lot about the bonuses, the rankings, the T100. This is a thing that I think we talked about when it came out, but sort of isn't talked about that much after. But it's just, again, such a great thing that the PTO has introduced to allow athletes like Holly to, yeah, take the time off they need. So congratulations.
Yeah,
And
yeah. She said she's relieved to finally share the news. It's been so hard to keep this little secret to ourselves. We're having a baby girl due the end of October. We couldn't be more excited. And so, yeah, the PTO have said they're going to be holding discussions with Holly to talk about that maternity support. So brilliant.
cool. Well done.
That's what we want.
What else then? Do we want to, how do we want, do you want to go straight into Singapore? Do you want to talk about the Super Tri esports, whatever it's
I
called?
think we'll just cover off the Super Tri World Triathlon Championship results, shall we?
Let's do it because there's something in particular I want to talk about with this. Um, yeah, I'm going to probably get on my bandwagon a little bit too, but go through the results and we have a chat.
Okay, the Super Tri World Triathlon Championship results. On the women's side, Beth Potter was first, Cassandra Bagrand was second, and Katie Zaviras was third. On the men's side, we had Chase McQueen in first place, Max Stapley in second, and Maxine Huber Moosburger in third.
Jesus, that was a gobful.
It's a hell of a name, isn't it?
Maxine. I just thought him as Max Huber, but yeah, new world champion in the men's.
Huber hyphen Moosburger.
Moose Burger. Interesting. Uh, Chase McQueen, we know, did the butterfly last year after he had the mechanical problem or the technical problem with the equipment last year. So good to see him come back and get that title. Max Stapley, can't speak highly enough of Max. I think a second place at a world championship event shows the trajectory that Max is on. Uh,
Yeah, great to see him up there.
he has this is going to be a big year for Max. I think like yeah, I'm very, very excited to see, and he's really proud of that result as he well should be. And then Max again, third place at a world championship event. Awesome. The women's race, Beth Potter is a defend or repeat champion now. She's got another
Yeah.
esports world title. Uh, and Cassandra second, fantastic. And then third place, who'd you say? Sorry, I can't remember.
Third place was Katie Severes,
Okay, of
who
course.
actually said, she said, bear with me a second. This is taking far too long. It's dead air. Dead air, mate.
Come on, I
She
expect you to
said she
remember.
followed her strategy. It was very painful, and that was especially the hardest race she's ever done. She's claiming this was the hardest event she's ever competed in.
I'm not, mate. Again, I'm not surprised because anytime I've done any sort of Super League racing, it's the fucking hardest race I've ever done too. I remember I did that Ottawa. They did that event in Ottawa years ago, and I was there for it. And I'd gotten sixth, so I went from the long, long one to the like second longest one. And it was a swim bike run for us. And I think I was in third place. There was two guys who were maybe 15 seconds ahead of me. So I was pushing hard on the bike and run, trying to close that gap. And the gap was being like consistent. And we got to the transition run to swim. And I remember it was probably a 200-meter run from transition down to the water. And I've sprinted down trying to catch him. And I've stood on the thing about to jump in the water and had to stop and go, oh no, I've made a huge mistake because my heart rate was so high. No, and I had to then jump in the water. So I actually had to stop for like a second, take a deep breath, and then dive in. And it's horrible. But
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's
yeah,
super tough racing, especially I think neither of us have got any experience of the indoor racing like this.
no.
And the idea of getting on one of those static treadmills, I think, and getting it up to speed. I mean, that's heavy running on those things.
Mm. Still
Because
think they
not
need to
only
like,
are you sort of supporting your own body, but you're moving the treadmill itself.
but there's I think what we're seeing is there's a very there's a way to race this, right? Like it's actually developing its own sort of set of nuance.
Mm.
You know, we heard about Lionel when he went, was it last year Lionel did it? And he sort of weight cut. So, you know, dehydrated. We did the weigh in and then fueled up to increase his weight so that his watts per kilo. Well, like stuff like that. Really, you know, clever. And
Cool
I
as
know,
fuck. That was
yeah,
cool as fuck when he did that, I
yeah,
think.
again, awesome.
Um,
But there's like certain things they do, right? Like that the way you get on the treadmill, the way because you got to get it up to speed as quickly as possible. So you see them like really push off, and I
yeah.
like that it sort of has its own little ways of doing things. I think that's it's good. Uh,
Did you see Beth Potter's transition
I did,
onto the third
yeah,
treadmill?
yeah,
Fucking
ridiculous.
incredible. That was she basically, I mean, Cassandra was in the lead and got to the treadmill way before her. And
Mm.
then Beth just came in, shoes on, off she went, and suddenly she was leading.
I do, and it's I'm sort of jumping around here, but I did enjoy during the T100 women's race where Jan Frodeno was sort of roasting Lucy Charles's transition a bit. It's something that we've spoken a lot about in the past. Is that Lucy, you know, she's an incredible athlete, but she does lack some of that technical expertise. And it was like good to hear Jan also being like, "What's she doing? Like, that's a terrible transition." And then it's like the contrast to seeing Lucy who does her thing her way compared to what Beth does. It's like maybe they need to share resources, and then Lucy would be
Yeah.
unstoppable. But yeah, unbelievable
Jan Frodeno
transition.
kept his swim skin on and his last transition ever.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I think he even said like I was shit house at transitions too. So, um, the thing though around the esports games, apart from the fact we had these world titles, was the podium celebration of the women's race. Have you seen the reel that's been doing the rounds on Instagram?
Yeah. I put a comment on it in our WhatsApp group, I think, because yeah, it pissed me right off, if I'm honest.
Yeah, again, talk about like triathlon doing triathlon. I looked at it personally, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't know. It just looked like she wasn't ready. Like to me, they start shaking the champagne to pour it, and she's going, wait, let me get mine. And by the time she stands up, they've already done it, and people are like, oh, it's bad sportsmanship, and I was like, oh, really? Settle
What do
down.
people want? Do people want, is there a specific way every single sports person has to act on a podium in order for it to be an acceptable end of race routine? You know, is there like, because if that's the case, then we're going to lose any individuality, any idiosyncrasies, any personality. We're going to
Uh,
lose all of that. If everybody just has to behave a certain way,
well,
otherwise you've outraged the internet.
do you
Fuck
remember?
off.
Do
Who
you
knows?
remember? Yeah.
She's a sports person at the top of her game, heading into a home Olympics this year. Who knows what was wrong? If anything was wrong, maybe she was just having like that was just like you say, just behind the curve. If something was wrong, then it can be wrong. If she's a little bit pissed off, she can be a little bit pissed off. What do we want from these people? And then for her to have to apologize afterwards and say, sorry for I wasn't being moody, all smiles next time. Fuck off. This isn't a world where we start telling
I
female
know.
sportswomen they've got to smile to make us happy and pleased. Get out of it.
Well, I think it comes down to that, that conversation I had with Scott Munch a few years ago, where it is a sort of double standard a bit. But then I say that, but then I look at, remember Joe Skipper's Lake Placid last year, where he was absolutely fucking cooked when he crosses the finish line, and people were like angry that he dropped the finish tape. And I'm like, the most fucking ridiculous double standard, because you watch any person who finishes a race, they grab the tape, they throw it on the ground, and all the outrage being like, he didn't respect the finish tape, but fuck off. It does just
Yeah,
like
what standards are we judging these people by? Do
what
we want them to absolutely spend themselves on the race course and then they can behave however they want when they finish? Or do we want them to keep something in reserve so they can remember to be nice and polite and it's very strange.
I'm
Very strange. And
gonna
that
get.
apology that she get posted on Instagram was unnecessary. And it's sad that she felt she had to do that.
I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to throw shade on a little bit, but Super Try does lean into the controversy a little bit too much. Like I know that they would have loved it, right? Like I think, yeah, I don't know. It's just they sort of do it a bit, right? Where they remember there was that crash between the two, was it Nicole Van der Kay and Alice Beto last year? And I like genuinely, I think it's one of the most viewed clips in the history of Instagram. Like not just triathlon, but like it went absolutely ridiculous. And then they've posted like, they're like, oh, this worked, let's keep doing it. Like they do like to, I think, lean into the things
Yeah.
that
I don't think they should have not posted that clip. But I mean, she said afterwards that she was just wasn't feeling it because she's worried she'd injured herself during the race and she wanted to get that checked out. If you're gonna post a clip like that, which is obviously gonna,
put some
have
content
the keyboard
context.
warriors in fury, put some context around it. Take a moment, take a beat, add some context around it, just so the keyboard warriors stay in their mum's basement.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're a person who sees that and feels the need, if you feel the need to put up some bullshit comment on a post like that, I've got a few steps for you. Firstly, take a fucking good hard look in the mirror. Secondly, give yourself a few jabs to the jaw, and thirdly, go and get a vasectomy because we don't need your genes in the gene pool anymore. Like, enough of this. I'm so sick of these angry people on the internet all the time. We cop it all the time too.
Yeah.
It's like, just pull your head in. Too many people are confident, comfortable saying things online that they wouldn't say to a person's face because they'd get punched in the face for saying it. And it's just it's ridiculous. Like, honestly, oh my God, she didn't celebrate properly. How dare she? What if
Yeah. How do we want people to say? Are we going to live in a prescribed world from now on, where
imagine being
everybody has to
outraged
act
by
the
that?
same?
Like, just
Every podcast has to be the same. Every finishing routine has to be the same. Everybody's just got to be the same because there's a prescribed way of behaving that's acceptable for
I
the
see
internet.
things on the internet a lot that piss me off. And I see things that make me
Yeah.
have an actual angry reaction. And I go on with my life. I don't feel the need to, like, it's funny how often like something like, I'll be honest, that Cassandra one, when I saw all the comments, I was ready to, and I just went, there's
Yeah.
actually no
No.
point. There's no point. Like, I just can't be bothered. It's honestly, ugh, I hate it. Good on you. And again, I know that none of our listeners are like that. Our listeners are all very positive, wonderful people who
Oh
enjoy
yeah. Totally.
our objective conversations about things, and they're very balanced and well measured, and not like that at all. So it shouldn't be a problem for us, mate.
But
We're not.
by all accounts, it was a good viewing experience. The games.
Mm, it was
So long may that continue.
cool. All right, Singapore T100, the main event this week. Uh, the racing that I wish again. I got such massive FOMO not being there. I was there last
Yeah,
year, had
so
such a
did
good
I.
time. It's
I was so impressed, mate, if I'm honest.
yep.
I started watching the broadcast. I watched both the broadcasts start to finish. I had to miss big sections of the men's bikes. I had to take the kids out for a climbing session. But on the women's race on the Saturday, it kicked off, and when it started, the broadcast I thought was an exceptional improvement compared to what we saw in Miami. Not only from a broadcast perspective in terms of data on screen, in terms of capturing the race as it unfolded, but also the surroundings, mate. That environment, that city of Singapore, it was perfect for a triathlon like this. It really, you felt like they were racing in an environment that wasn't just a big empty space because there isn't that much empty space. They're running around these complex courses. They're biking in these with the cityscape behind them. I was um I was very impressed with it from start to finish.
I watched. I missed the swim on the women's race. I think I just got back from my bike ride, didn't make it back in time. And the men's race, I watched it from about 45 minutes in. So I've seen most of the races. I haven't seen the swim for either race. Uh, I think that there was a huge improvement, similar to yourself in Miami. I don't, to be honest, think that was that difficult. Um, I, though, am a little bit nervous about my opinions this week because I feel like I am still quite negative. Not, I shouldn't say negative. I still feel like I have thoughts. Let's put it that way. Because again, huge step forward, and that's as long as we're heading in a forward direction, I'm going to be super happy. But there's a lot about this event that I'm just sort of still not quite satisfied with in terms of not just broadcast, but in performances and athlete stuff and things like that. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird place to start, I suppose. But let's talk about the
Let's
racing.
talk about the race first.
Yeah, let's go for the women's race. So yeah,
Yeah, the women's race. It was, we had very strong swim from Lucy Charles-Barclay, from Lucy Buckingham. They were out front, leading. And then on the bike, we saw a bit of change around. Lucy essentially leading the way. Lucy Buckingham got a bit of a cramp
that's
at
right.
one
Yeah.
point, which was worrying. But she held strong. To be honest, I was concerned that that was a ominous sign for when she got onto the run, because if you start cramping on the bike, I mean, cramp is more of a warning sign from the body than anything else. Yeah, people say it's salt levels, they say it's this, they say it's that. In reality, it's more your body saying you need to slow down, you need to stop. It's kind of a shot across the bow, and I was worried that was going she was going to carry that into the run, and we were going to see a capitulation. But what we did see on the run was Lucy Charles getting off with nigh on 5 minutes
Five and a
lead.
half minutes, I think. I think
Yeah,
it's
five and a half minutes, I think it was, and then everybody thinking the race was done, and Ashley Gentle running her down.
there you go, mate.
What a performance, mate! Majestic running.
Yeah, Ash Gentle, mate, is so good. Like, yeah, just excellent. Uh, yeah, look, I picked Ash for the win, and even myself when the gap was that big, and the way, and again, I think it's more. It's not that I didn't think Ash was good enough to do it. I think it was more that I know how good Lucy is, and she was only a little bit off in Miami. We know she's quite good in the heat. I think that I sort of expected her to be able to hold on, and the way she looked and everything, I thought she looks the goods. This is, at no point to me did Lucy Charles look like she was in distress or she, like you look at some athletes and they really lose their form, right? I didn't see that with Lucy. So I thought Lucy would be fine, but I think it became pretty apparent pretty quickly that uh, it wouldn't happen. That Ash was running, the amount of time that Ash was running into Lucy very, very quickly made it to me at least sort of by about a quarter of the way through the run, like, yeah, this is gonna happen unless something massively happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because Lucy didn't look like she was capitulating,
no.
like you say. She was running with good form. She was making good time. But the way Ash was running was just so much faster. And she also didn't look like she was going to slow down. Your first kilometer, she took a minute out of her.
Mm,
And then that pace didn't really subside.
mm,
She didn't drop at all. She was running with good poise and good posture, and it was just remarkable to see that when they cut between the two athletes, neither looked like they were um I mean, you looked at Lucy and you didn't think, oh my God, she's just going to blow or she's blown. She just didn't look like she could go any faster,
mm.
but she didn't look like she was going to slow down very much. So then in the end, it came down to sort of a mathematical equation, didn't it? Looking at how far they've got to go, looking at the difference in pace, assuming that neither's going to change that much. And so it was. I mean, the pass was made almost exactly the point at which I think Dave messaged us and said it will be at this point based on my calculations, and it kind of happened there, didn't it?
Exactly. And this is what I really like about that Singapore course is that it gives what I like about it is there's a lot of opportunities for athletes to get eyeballs on each other going both ways, but also when you're running in particular, you can spot that person up the road a bit. But then there's also like it gives you a bit of there's the spots where you can't see where the athlete is, so that causes that, I guess, distress a little bit. Then you've got the spots where you can see exactly where everybody is. So you're like, okay, this person's a minute, whatever behind. But then you've also got those straights where, because again, for me as a runner, nothing motivates me more running than when you can spot that person you're chasing and you start to see yourself getting closer and closer and closer. So I think from a spectating or from like an actual competition point of view, the course really lends itself to
Mm.
that. And again, watching it, like it's a relatively flat course, but there's some bumps in that course. Like that big loop they go over at the end is not easy to get up. Like it's not an easy course. It's quite technical. There's lots of twists and turns. At points, it's quite tight. And again, oppressive heat. Like Asian heat is unlike anything I've experienced elsewhere. The
Yeah.
closest I've come is
Yeah. The
Kona.
first time the camera panned back and that you saw Ash in the same camera shot as Lucy was quite a cool moment because you suddenly saw like quite how close she was,
Mm,
and you could see the gap decreasing. I think on the last when they went to hit the last lap, they had 1 minute 1 second between them, and then the pass was made with 4.6K to go.
yeah.
So she closed that last minute fairly quickly.
Give us the podium, and then we can talk about some of the specific performances.
Yeah.
Give us the top
So
five,
the
maybe.
podium in the women's race with Ashley Gentle in first place, Lucy Charles-Barclay in second, and Elsvisser in third.
Amelia Watkinson was fourth. Do you remember? Do you have who was fifth there?
Yeah, Lucy Buckingham
Lucy
did
Buckingham.
not capitulate, mate.
Again, and that's a wild card entry, not even a contracted athlete. Uh,
And
I
she was
want to.
only 7 seconds behind Amelia Watkinson.
I think Amelia needs a big shout out here because she got off the bike. I think in 10th. I think in 10th. Was it 10th? But like 10 minutes down. 10 minutes down. So to run, through the field like that. And again, I've said it a million times. Amelia is one of the most underrated middle distance athletes still in the sport. But in Asia, Amelia is so good in the heat, and she showed her form again, her class. Els Visser, again, an athlete I don't think anybody really expected to see. Another wildcard athlete.
She wasn't expecting that either. I mean, she said after the race she would have been pleased with the top 10 to round off the podium.
Yeah, third is amazing. And then yeah, again, Lucy Buckingham, I expected her to feature, and I'm glad to see she did. Uh, other things worth note: Chelsea Sodaro withdrew from the race. She was going when one of the first things I saw when I turned on the race was there was a lot of cameras on Chelsea Sodaro, and at first I thought she was leading. I was like, shit, she's on fire, because the camera was on her a lot. And then it became quite apparent, no, she's not. And not only was she not leading, she was getting passed by a lot of athletes. Like she was going backwards, and then decided to withdraw from the race, which is never a good thing to see. But I think for her, probably the smart. Well, I hope everything's okay, and it's a smart decision.
Yeah, I
But
mean, obviously, I hope she's not injured or sick or anything, but she was going backwards, and there's no point if you're having one of those days where it's nothing's lining up and you're not feeling it, and inside yourself that it ain't gonna come good, then pulling the plug is probably the sensible thing to do.
it's just again, and you talk about, and again, we're going to talk about this a bit more. But Chelsea's been in Australia, New Zealand. She's done a lot of Ironman 70.3 races. This is her first appearance at the T100, and to have this happen, it's just like it's bad luck for Chelsea. So
Mm.
I worry, and again, I have no inside information. I'm purely speculating or giving, but I've always spoken about the fact that you see people who have that, they win a world title, and there's the ones that take it and run with it, and it leads to more and more success. And then you see the ones that sort of win it, and then they struggle with the pressure a little bit. And again, I don't know, but it's just based on
Pete
things.
Jacobs.
Pete Jacobs is the example that I use, to be honest. And I worry that Chelsea might be going that way rather than, I mean, I watched her win Kona in 2022 and thought, fucking hell, she's going to win six of these things. Like, at least, like,
Mm.
nobody's beaten her the way she raced that, like one of the most impressive performances I've seen on the Big Island. And since then, we've seen her struggle. I think New Zealand was the first time she'd won a race since. And I mean, I told the story about how in Singapore last year, like the way she was at the finish line, like it didn't seem like she was. I don't know what the right, like there's a desperation, or there was something there that made me just go, ooh, okay. I'm a bit worried about this. And yeah, to see that, I go, and I don't want it, because I think Chelsea is such a wonderful athlete, and I just want to see her thrive and be the incredible athlete we know she is. So I hope I'm wrong, but I am starting to like wonder if maybe it's the latter, not the former. So hope she's
Mm.
okay. Hope she's back to her best, and hope we see her in. Because what's next? What is San Francisco's next, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully she's firing on all cylinders and ready to absolutely rip it in San Francisco for Chelsea.
Yeah,
Any other?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Any other female performances that stood out for you?
No, not really. I was just gonna say, Lucy finished a minute and a half ish behind Ashley, so she didn't capitulate
Oh,
when the pass was made. Ashley didn't look backwards, didn't give her a second glance, didn't give her. There were no words exchanged between the two athletes, but Lucy held strong to finish in a good place. So in reality, it looks like she needs about 7 minutes, doesn't it, off the bike to beat an athlete like Ashley Gentle.
I
Do
think
we
she's.
see that happening in the future?
I do. I do think that's something that Lucy is able to do. And again, you know, let's analyze this a bit. Ashley hasn't raced the first race of the year. Lucy's team's also said that she's still sort of building into the year. So come on though, we're round two. Let's get on with it. But yeah, look, she's like, okay, now I need 7 minutes. I think we could see Lucy, recruit other the good thing with this season is that there are other swimmers who can go with Lucy. It's not a Lucy and everybody else. There's Lucy and there's a few others. So
Mm.
recruit those other athletes with her. Let's really start to drive that swim, because it is Ash's weakness. and then commit to the bike. Like get that pack together, because most of the really good swimmers are also extremely strong bikers. And I'd like to see them really start to work together because again, they all know now that Ash is coming, and it's I mean, even a Taylor Nib, right? Like once you add Taylor Nib to the mix, she's very good swimmer, exceptional biker, and even if Taylor Nib rides away from the rest, the group chasing her is still also gonna progress, and then it's gonna come down to a can they run like it. The dynamics, the potential dynamics is exciting. I just wish it was happening already. Um, but no, I think for me, the standout performances, like Amelia Watkinson, I think was fantastic. Like really, really fantastic. And I think Lucy Buckingham coming back from that, yeah, what looked like a little
Yeah.
cramp, was
Absolute standout, Lucy Buckingham for me, to be honest, because
Elsvisser.
they interviewed Mark Buckingham a few times during the race, and you could tell he was nervous about the heat. He was nervous as what was going to happen on the run to her. He wasn't, he wouldn't put his chips on the table and say, "Oh no, he was very cautious." And for her to have that cramp on the bike would have made those concerns even deeper, I imagine. And then for her to come off the bike and finish in fifth place and not to, go backwards down through the field I think that was remarkable. I was very, very impressed and pleased to see it.
I definitely preferred the women's race to the men's race. Like 100% for me, the women's race was the event of the weekend. And again, I know that there's some technical problems with the men's race, but the broadcast was better, the racing was better. Uh, I really, yeah, I think for me the women's race was the pick of them. Uh,
I think we need to mention that India leaded DNF'd.
yeah, it's true. Do you know anything
So
about what happened?
no, I mean well, yes. She said she'd had a cough and a cold for the last week, 10 days leading into the race. So I hadn't been able to train properly on it. Hadn't been feeling very well, raced anyway, and it just didn't play out the way she expected. You know what it's like. We've all got the same thing, mate, apart from you, it seems.
Do you have the standings? Because that's the other thing we've got now is we've got this season long, we've got the points.
Yeah, I've got that here before we move on to the men's race.
Yep, cool.
So that leaves the standings.
Lucy Charles in
Bear with
first
me a
place, I
second.
assume.
Yeah. Full
50,
finishing order in time. Oh no,
56
hang on a
points.
second. Hang on a minute.
Let me
I'm on
see
the
if I can.
wrong website.
Come on, Jimbo. Yeah, mate, I expect you. Come on, do your research. Get ready for what are you doing? I thought, mate. Let me see if I can find it
Hang on
quickly.
2 seconds. There's too many websites, mate.
Are you feeling the pressure, mate?
Yeah.
I can't find them. Um,
Interesting.
anyway, there's
Uh,
something. Lucy Charles is
no, no,
probably
no.
in
I've got
first
them here.
place.
I'm just
Okay.
they just don't look like they've been updated. They haven't been updated on the front page. They've been updated on the page behind them. So in first place on the women's side, Lucy Charles-Barclay's leading with 56 points. Ashley Gentle is in second with 35. India Lee is in third, joint third with 35 points as well. There must be a way of differentiating between second and
Maybe
third, even though they're
points.
on equal points.
Maybe the points they make
Hey,
based on that's a fascinating question. Maybe it's based on their points, the PTO points they get. You know,
it's
the
probably because India, yeah, I mean,
or because
both of
Ashley
them have
beat
only
her.
finished one race, haven't they?
Or maybe because Ash, I think I heard something about this somewhere. Is it because Ash has technically beaten India?
Might be finishing time.
Uh, hmm.
Who
Maybe.
knows? Lucy Byram's in fourth place. Haley Chura is in fifth.
Wow.
Holly Lawrence in sixth, and then it sort of descends from down there with the rest finishing off that. So yeah,
So Lucy's well
it's
clear.
interesting. Lucy Charles Barkley, two second place finishes, consistent results, leading the series. Yeah, we've got our two winners in second and third.
Excellent. Well, again, I do like that we have this. We can't wait to see. Let's talk about the men's. The men's race was a bit different.
Yeah, it was. Um, I enjoyed the men's race still. I thought it was interesting. From a broadcast perspective, we didn't quite have as much data on screen. I know that was a technical glitch that was happening, unavoidable. But hopefully these things will stop happening in the future. But you know, very big pack on the swim. coming out on the bike again, big packs, big packs. Sam Long exiting the
Last
water well and truly down and behind on his own.
there
But
was that
unfortunately,
there
getting
was that
into
shot of
T2,
Sam. I just want to talk about the shot of Sam that I saw, and it's Sam getting out of the water at that Aussie exit and looking behind him and seeing there's no one behind him. I was like, that's a brutal little clip to show. It was like, yeah, just this moment of Sam being like, oh fuck, I'm in last place.
yeah, and then he got into T2. He didn't put his swim skin in his box properly
T1.
because he's put the box all over his head. And then disappeared off on the bike, but unfortunately he ended up with a penalty because of that.
Yeah.
But he biked like a motherfucker. He went up through the field. It was great to see. And served his penalty on the run. And then he ran like a motherfucker as well. But Alistair Brownlee also got a penalty coming off the bike because he's trod on the line. So he had to take that mid-run as well. And yeah, Youri Keulen, though, was impossible to catch out front. Despite his best efforts, Sam ran through the field, finished second with Peter Heimerick in third.
I I've spoken a lot about watching the Ironman broadcast, and they say Didi too much. Like, hey Didi, Didi, Didi. Fucking hell! If they did not say Yuri Keulen 10 million times during, it actually got to the point where every time they'd say Yuri Keulen, I started to laugh because they said his name so many times during the broadcast. And I get, yeah, I understand you have to talk about it, but just use Yuri or the winner or the leader. But it was like every sentence had Yuri's name, and it was so much so that I was messaging Belinda, and I said, "You guys need to stop saying Yuri Keulen because it's killing me." And there was a moment where I actually heard Belinda. She went to say, she went Yuri, like I could see that I was in her head, so that made me chuckle. But man, they said Yuri Keulen's name a lot on the broadcast.
They did indeed. And he was, I mean, he made his move on the bike and then he was pretty much uncatchable from then on, and collapsing across the line and ending up in the medical center. Obviously sending our best to him on his recovery. I have talked to him on Instagram since then. So he's back on his feet and he's fine. He just needed an IV drip. But Sam Long for me was the performance of the day.
Yeah.
I know that Youri Keulen did a great job, but watching Sam come through that field, run up to second place, I had him pick for the win. He didn't quite get the win. I think maybe if he hadn't had that penalty, but would the penalty have made any difference? His own words were the penalty is only worth 10 seconds really because you get a rest, you know, and then you run faster afterwards. So fine.
Well, again, I'm not sure how you don't, with the way the splits work, you can never be quite sure about how accurate the pace information is. Because I was watching the live, they've got the second screen you can view things on, and without the live stats on the broadcast, I was using that when I was watching. And at one point, I think they were saying that Sam was running 20 seconds per kilometer faster than Yuri Keulen. And it looked like I can't remember the exact amount of distance that was left, but it would come down to the last, it would be like maybe Sam won by 2 seconds or something. And I remember going, oh my God, like how good is this? And they went, oh no, he's got a 30-second penalty. It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
There goes that opportunity. But there's a lot to unpack with the men's race. And a lot of
there
it,
is.
I personally don't particularly care about a lot of it, to be honest, because I get a bit bored of seeing the draft, and the draft, oh, the draft, and they're gonna. But the reason I think it's worth talking about here in particular is that a big deal this year with both the Pro Series and the PTO Series is the use of Race Ranger. The Race Ranger, which I think is such a positive fact, an
Brilliant.
addition
Love it.
to,
Love it.
but you need to use it. Like
Fucking use it. Yeah.
you can have it, but then you need to use it. Like, and again, I saw it a bit, and there was plenty of red, and I think Tim Hemming put up a tweet saying, "Oh, this is going to be a test to see if how long the batteries last on these Race Ranger devices because they're so red so much." Like again, I didn't see a lot of
Now
this
the rule
product.
is if your race ranger goes red, you have to overtake. If you back off, it's a penalty.
Blocking penalty.
So that's what I missed a lot of the men's bike because I was in the climbing center with the children. I'm told by reliable sources, both on the ground and people afterwards, that they saw a lot of red lights
Mm.
and a lot of people not making those passes afterwards. Now, do Race Ranger collect the data? Why weren't those penalties being enforced? if you're going to enforce a penalty on an
Yeah,
athlete for
this
their swim skin not being in a box or for treading on a line, Alistair Brown, it was fucking marginal.
it
Obviously,
wasn't
they
a
had a
penalty.
camera there.
It wasn't a penalty to me. Alistair's wasn't a penalty. I didn't think. But your point
But
is accurate.
yeah, if they're gonna enforce those penalties, why weren't any of the drafting penalties enforced? Why weren't they forced during, and why weren't they enforced afterwards? If you didn't see, like, you can put time penalties on people afterwards. If Race Ranger collect this data, which I'm told they do, then all of that data is dissectable and available for analysis post race.
Now, Youri Keulen has last season developed a bit of a reputation as a drafter. This isn't us coming up with it. We're just saying what, a lot of other people have come out and said, so much so that we've seen some other things happen on course that we'll talk about. But, the fact that he went off the front sort of proved the point, call me a drafter now when there's nobody to draft off.
Oh,
But
he's certainly proved a point that he's
well,
not drafting's not a necessity in that man's life.
yeah, well, what the point I wanted to make though is from what I was told is that he was part of that group at the start where there was plenty of red lights, and they were saying that if every single like this is the point where I think it is relevant is because again if they're all doing it, but if that whole group or the people in that group that were doing it badly all got the penalty, and then you add in the Sam Long factor, who wasn't part of that pack, who was like truly riding solo through the pack, that's when things would have changed. So Sam Long, I think if anybody has the right to be a bit, he got a penalty and then his competitors didn't. I think that's when it's an issue.
Yeah.
And I don't know I don't know whether it was is it a case that they've now got race rangers so they feel like they need less on course marshals because they expect I don't know. I know you PTO listen, maybe, I'm not sure, but is it a case that they think, well, we've got race rangers, so the athletes can self-police a little bit because we expect them when they see the lights to act accordingly. Didn't seem like that was the case with this though, where there was, as you said, plenty of red lights, plenty of people who, as you say, if that light goes red, you're meant to draft, pass, didn't. That's where it becomes a problem. So it's just another little thing that's going to have to be fixed. And I think that when you do factor in the Sam Long thing of it all, it did have quite a significant impact on the actual result at the end of the day. So yeah, not good.
Agreed.
Fix it.
Agreed. And I think, unfortunately, Alistair Brownlee ended up walking,
Yeah.
didn't finish the race. But I agree. His penalty was so marginal. It was
Well,
so marginal.
this is the thing. I mean, again, I messaged Belinda during the broadcast. I said, is the option there for Alistair not to take the penalty and appeal it at the finish line? Can he say, I want it reviewed? Because again, I saw the footage and thought that's not a penalty. Like it's close, but he's not over the line. And I
Yeah.
just and from what BG told me, it was like, no, the officials have ruled that this is a penalty. So there's no grounds for appeal. And I was like, that's weird because I mean, we even saw in Oceanside last week where Braden and Emma were able to appeal their penalties. And again, I think it happened in not Kona, Nice last year as well. With was it Braden as well, right? Where he got a penalty, he appealed it and it was removed as well. So yeah, I wasn't sure about that, but um
What do you think it is? I mean, if they've got Race Ranger there for a reason. I can't believe there's a version of this world where they just think, oh, we'll just let the athletes police themselves now because they can see their red lights.
I don't know.
I would imagine it was more to do with we can't take out the first six athletes of this race and have them all standing in the penalty box. It will look ridiculous.
But you can
Which
and you should.
I agree they should.
Yeah.
That's not me saying that.
Mm.
That's because I think, you police it and you police it hard from the outset. Athletes learn.
What's the is it what's the penalty for drafting in T100?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know either. Minutes probably compared to the 30. Anyway, the other thing that happened, I mean, look, let's talk about performances a little bit because we haven't really gotten into the actual like Youri Keulen looked unbelievable. The second he got off the bike, I mean, firstly, the fact that Alistair Brownlee tried to bridge up to Youri because Youri made an attack after he left that pack, he made the attack, and everybody seemed to be like, good luck to him. It's Youri Keulen. He's got no one to draft. Who cares? And very quickly realized this was an error. And you saw a few of them try to bridge up to him, Alistair Brownlee in particular. And I think from what the broadcasters were saying or the commentators were saying, Alistair got within about 15 seconds of him and then just went backwards again. And
Mm.
again, it shows because Alistair Brownlee is one of the best cyclists to have ever done the sport. So to see him, go back, like not be able to bridge up to him was a sight to behold. So again, absolute kudos to Youri for that incredible bike performance and really coming out and I guess answering a lot of those questions and comments around him. But the second he got off the bike, mate, he just looked unbelievable. Like, we talk about
Yeah,
athletes who
peerless.
look just, you know, that's running. Like, I wish I could look like that when I ran. At no point did he ever look like he was in distress whatsoever. Like, it just looked like I was so surprised to hear that he end. Like, I was shocked actually to hear that he was so fucked at the end because he just did not look in distress at all at any point
No,
of that run.
no, he went from running in a very composed way down that finish line to being on the floor, hardly able to communicate. I mean, there's a lot of science behind, the mind, what the brain can do when it's in competition, and as soon as that competition is over, and how it can shut you down.
Mm,
And that's pretty much seemed to be what happened to him. It was a sudden realization of quite how much effort and energy he put into that race to win it. Um, Remarkable performance. But again, I'm going to go back to performance of the day is Sam Long.
mm.
What a fucking performance. I mean, he's up against some of the best long course triathletes in the world. If he could swim a bit
Ah,
faster, mate,
I know.
he would be absolutely wiping the floor with these
Yeah,
people
it's actually
because
ridiculous. And I
it's
mean,
fucking
yeah,
ridiculous.
I made the comment last week, and I said this, right? The only question mark I had over Sam was how quickly he would be able to adapt to the heat coming from Oceanside. The period being quite short. Uh, Again, I was wrong. Happy to always put up my hand and say that I was wrong because he didn't seem to be bothered at all. He is just so fucking good, man. And he's had like this year, he's had a first place, and then he's had what, three second places now? Second place in,
Mm,
so he won the race was in Chile, Pucon 70.3 in January. He's then gone second place Miami, second place Oceanside, second place T100 Singapore. And all of this is as a duathlete. Like it's fucking it's unbelievable.
yeah.
He's so good. And he just like the way
To
that he would
come
pass
out
these guys,
at the
like
back.
well, the point that got me was when he did serve the penalty and he then got passed by, I think it was Peter Heimrich, Mika Newt had run past him, and then he passed them again within like he just fucking blew past him. Like it's
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. It was. I mean, it is
And did you
believable.
see he used his time in the penalty box to try and sort of pump the audience up a little bit?
I
He
mean,
was getting
that's
them to cheer.
that's the other thing I really like, right? Is the way that he conducts himself. Like there's sometimes Sam Long does things like some of his YouTube videos I can't cop. Like I find it a bit cringe. But when he's racing, I really like how he conducts himself. Like he is an entertainer, and he was respectful in the penalty box. There was no carry on. He patted the person on the shoulders like to almost say thank you. Like I really
Yeah.
respected the way he
And
conducted
after the
himself.
race, he was interviewed. He said, "Look, I deserved a penalty. I left it outside the box. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I took the penalty and then I just creamed everybody again."
So that was
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah, amazing. And then third place, Peter Heimrich.
He finished a minute and a half back from Youri. Like you say, there were calculations before he had that penalty that the paces they were both going, it was looking like it was going to come down to a really close finish. I think that penalty took a bit of wind out of his sails, who knows whether it would have come down to that close finish or not, but that's what we were hoping for. That's the kind of racing we want to see, and that's the kind of racing he delivers. And to come out at the back of the race, make your way through it, and be competitive and be positive. I mean, we've come a long way from the Sam Long who had a bit of an off year, and was seeming a bit down and a bit lost and didn't really know how to approach the sport. And now seeing what he's doing now, he's turned a corner, mate, and I'm here for it. I love to see it.
Focusing on middle distance. What we've been saying for a long time. But
Yeah,
now
yeah.
now we just
Find that
need
speed.
Now we just need him and Lionel next to each other. Like I said last week, just drop in Lionel and have those two doing this together, and Bob's your uncle. It's sexy time. So,
Yeah, yeah. So a good performance from Peter Heimrich as well. Big shout out to David McNamee.
oh mate, what a run!
Yeah,
The the Welsh athlete Dave Mack.
100% not from Wales. Yeah,
I
yeah,
was messaging Belinda going, "He's Scottish. You need to say he's Scottish. Don't say
yeah,
he's."
yeah. He actually
Oh,
put a post out on Instagram and said, "I'm not from Wales," despite what the commentator thinks.
I know. Again, everybody has done it. Scotland is not England. I know Wales is part of England, but Scotland is not part of England. So get that right. No,
Yeah, yeah. Scotland's its own country. Wales is its own country as well,
no, no.
but in terms of
Wales is part of England,
governance,
mate,
it's
isn't it? It's part
slightly
of England.
closer.
I just,
Yeah.
I've got a Welsh friend. I always say that to, and it pisses him off. So I'm very well aware that Wales is a different country. And
Yeah.
then we had who Mika Newt. So I don't know what happened with Mika Newt because Mika, no, sorry, who was fourth?
You've missed Carl Smith, mate.
Dave McNamee, then Carl Smith, and then Mika Newt. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Mika was in fourth place until like a kilometer to go, and then just I don't know what happened. I still don't know what happened, but he just seemed to vanish.
Yeah. He just had a moment, didn't he? He must have just reached the limit of what he was capable of and lost a bit of pace towards the end.
I
Still
thought I
managed to
was,
finish in front of Aaron Royal though.
yeah, I thought I was on with Carl Smith. I thought my going with a bit of left of center pick for Carl Smith was a good one, and he just seemed to again good performance by Kyle. I don't think anybody's been Youri Keulen on that day though, but yeah, some great performances. So
We had more DNFs in the men's race than we did in the women's, with
yeah,
Alistair Brownlee pulling out, Daniel Beckergaard not finishing, Sam
did Daniel not
Laidlow, Ben
finish?
Canute. No, Daniel Beckergaard had foot pain.
Oh no.
He's had to have a scan afterwards. It's shown no fracture or anything. It's nerve damage apparently, but yeah, had quite severe foot pain. Didn't finish the race.
Okay. Who else? Sorry. So we had Alistair.
Alistair Brownlee out, Daniel Beckergaard out, Sam Laidlow out, and Ben Canute didn't finish. Sam Laidlow, I told you, didn't I? He cycles his performances, mate, and
Yeah.
this is not in that cycle right now.
Yeah. It's again. I'm not surprised to be honest. Like I
No.
didn't. He didn't finish Singapore last year. I don't. Yeah. 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 Again, I think somebody was in our group chat was saying, is this all just this master plan that we saw? Like, I know I sort of was like tin hat theory last year saying, does he do all this stuff so that by the time it comes to world champs, people are like, oh, don't worry about Sam Laidlow. And looking at it this year, I'm like, maybe that is true because yeah, he's not been good. Maybe it is just this full like, and the difference with the PTO thing is right. He's getting paid to do it this year. Like he's getting paid to show up, and he's like, oh, okay, pay me to not finish or pay me to just go through the motions. I don't know. I don't want to
I
say
do
that's
like
true.
his bike though, I
It's
must say.
it's a good one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, look, I think the men's race had some, yeah, the broadcast had some problems with stuff, but still good race. Just was a bit more like, yeah, bit
So
less
do you want to
exciting
know
the
the
women's race.
standings? Do you want
Yeah,
to know
come
the
on,
tour standings?
please.
In
Sam Long must be in
first
first
place, up,
place.
hey,
Our contracted athlete Sam Long with two second places must be in first place, right? A contracted
after
athlete
two races of the
must be.
T100 series on the men's side, Youri Keulen is leading the men's leaderboard on 57 points. Sam Long is in second on 56. Magnus Ditlev's in third on 35. Aaron Royal is in fourth on 27, and then they just descend back down from there. But yeah, Youri Keulen, due to the quirks of the point system, he's beating Sam Long by 1 point. And Sam actually was interviewed after the race, like because he was interviewed instead of Youri. Normally they have the first and second there in a TV interview, but Youri was in hospital. So Sam was being interviewed, and he did say, "Oh, it's good to be leading the series, though." And the guy had to be like, "Actually, mate, to be honest, he's beaten you by one." But Sam took it well
Yeah,
because he takes
Sam.
things well, doesn't he?
Yeah. This is I think the thing I wanted to talk a little bit about. And this is where I get a bit nervous because I know that it's like, oh, Tim's been negative again. But I struggle to understand how these wildcard athletes and we shouldn't be seeing the wildcard athletes dominating the contracted athletes. I think at this point, and this isn't all, some of the contracted athletes are doing a wonderful job. But it really is starting to feel to me like some of these contracted athletes aren't taking this seriously. Like the fact that Youri Keulen, who doesn't have a contract, is leading the series, like it shouldn't be the case. Like you know what I mean?
Oh, no, we're two races in though, and we've seen him have one outstanding performance,
Two.
which,
He was fourth in
I
Miami too,
don't
mate.
think we're going to see repeats of that. I don't see Youri Keulen leading this championship any longer than the third race. And I don't so and it shows the value. If anything, it's demonstrating to the other athletes the value of putting it all out there when you are leading or with an opportunity to win. It shows the value of pushing right to the end to get those that deficit to get those extra points because with this one performance, I know he did quite well in the other race. He didn't, but he wasn't on the podium. With this one performance, he's beating the guy that's come second twice.
Yeah.
I'm full of positivity and praise for all of this at the moment. I think this is brilliant.
I just think again, it's not this isn't a comment on the PTO. This is a comment on the athletes. Like I feel like there's just not I don't know what it is. And like or it shows more a case that they don't need to be given contracts if I don't even know how to put my foot on it, my finger on it, right? But it just seems like Youri Keulen has to race the rest of this series now, right? Like you can't not. He has to be
Yeah.
given starts to the rest of the races. So how does that
Yeah,
work?
that would be the only question mark. If he's leading the series
And then doesn't get a start to like
and doesn't get a start, what if every contracted athlete wanted to race the next race?
exactly.
Then technically no wild cards.
Yeah.
So what would happen then? I mean, you can't have the series leader not racing, can you?
No, you can't. Like this is what I mean. Like I just feel like we had this we've had this vision right of these 20 athletes, the best. Like I keep hearing everybody talking about it's the best of the world racing. But the reality is it isn't because half the fields are missing. And then it's not even that they're missing or they're not starting. It's that they're not featuring or they're not finishing or they're just like finishing 10 minutes back. Like we're yet to see the promise of this actually come to fruition for whatever reason. And I don't know. I just look at it and I heard everybody saying, "Oh, the athletes did their part." I was like, I'm not sure they did. Some athletes did, but a lot of the athletes didn't, and that's why I don't know. I don't know. Is it because they lowered the prize money? Is it because it is just an pay to play? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm I'm I didn't expect the season to go this way. Like Magnus Ditlev seems to be taken extremely seriously. Magnus takes everything he does very seriously. Like he's a class athlete. But the rest, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that commitment that I think I wanted to see. Again, you're right. We're two races in, I know that. But it is just a bit, I don't know.
What about
Not
your pick for the win, Alistair Brownlee?
I didn't pick Alice. I picked Carl Smith.
What about your almost pick for the win, Alistair Brownlee? I remember you saying you were tempted. I couldn't remember whether you'd
Yeah,
actually done
yeah.
it or not.
No, well, it sounds like he's got an injury again, which is fucking hard to be an Alistair Brownlee fan. But, like he was literally hobbling, mate. So there's not
Mm.
much. But again, he still seemed to be pushing. Like he tried to close the gap to Youri Keulen. You know, it doesn't seem like he's just going through the motions at any. Like I don't think he's capable of that, right? But I don't know. You cut back to people and you see them just sort of coming home 10 minutes later and stuff. It's like I've said this. I just don't get the way the races are shown. We're not seeing. If you're not on the front couple, we don't see you. They're not featured. They're not part of the broadcast. They don't add anything as a spectator. So why are they being paid to be there? That's the thing I struggle with is the either the PTA needs to get better at showing the race, the whole race, rather than just the leaders, or they don't need those people. Like people say that 20 isn't enough. You could go to 10. The way the races are shown, you could literally go to 10 people because you don't see more than 10 athletes at any race, right? Like, did you see Leon Chevalier racing much? Did you
No,
see
I mean,
Bradley
look,
Weiss?
I think the broadcastability of it will improve as the season goes on
But we
because you'll
keep
start
saying this though.
capturing narratives.
But we keep saying this. We keep
No,
we
I'm not talking about the quality of the broadcast. I'm talking about narratives will start to develop within the within the leaderboard.
okay.
You'll start to focus on fights that are happening that are important down the field because you'll have people, you know, you'll have somebody who's leading the championship, second in the championship, third in the championship, whose points, if they get them in this one specific race, will catapult them up the championship. But in this one specific race, they might not be in first, they might not be in second, they might not be in third, but they're fighting for fourth and fifth. But those fourth and fifth positions will get them the points they need to go up the leaderboard. So that's when you start, when you've got a season long narrative, that's when you start seeing these fights further down the field. And that's when the broadcast will start saying, right, okay, well, up the front, we've got, I don't know, fucking Kasper Stepniak, who's happens to be winning this race, and he's brilliant, and we keep cutting back to him. But racing for fifth place is Magnus Ditlev, who's having a bit of an off day. But if he catches Carl Smith and passes him for fourth place, he'll have enough points to leapfrog Sam Long, who's currently leading the championship, and that's when you'll start to see those conversations happen down further down the field, I think.
Yeah, because again, the example you're given right now reminds me a lot of the WTCS Grand Final 2 years ago, where the event I was at in the event I was at on the Gold Coast a few weeks ago, Matt Hauser was one of our guest speakers. It was a Q&A, and I asked Matt Hauser, I said, how good was it to pass Hayden Wild in the grand final to make sure that you knocked him off winning the world title? And he's like, yeah, it's always good to beat a Kiwi, but I wish it wasn't a race for fifth place. Like that's very much the scenario you're talking about, and that was a really good, like I enjoyed that race for all the dynamics and the all the different maths. But yeah, I am concerned that when like what you're saying is what I want. I really, really want that. I just are we going to see it? Because at the moment it seems again camera on the front,
Yeah.
camera on the front, camera on the
Anyway,
front.
anyway, the most important series leaderboard news is 20th place. My favorite from the whole list, Rico Bogan on 9 points. Go on, Rico. Go
Come
on,
on,
son.
Rico. Come on,
Love the
Rico.
way he races.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, look, I've said enough about the 200. Again, my thoughts are the same. I think the broadcast was much better. I still don't think it's perfect. Um, there's still room for improvement. And again, I feel bad for them that men's race was out of their control. Belinda was exceptional in commentary. I really like the addition that Belinda has. I'd love to see them get somebody. I'd love to see them get somebody quite animated in, like a Will McCloy, because I think that you've got three people who are all very serious. Isn't the right word, but like it's a bit. They all sound
Yeah.
a bit the same.
There isn't much. There's no one getting really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will
Yeah. They need
McCloy for
me in there, man.
T100.
Bring the energy.
I can hear it. Like every time I'm like, how's it going? You're like, yeah, I'm good, mate. It's like just the valve of
So the
excitement.
next race is the San Francisco on the 8th of June. So that's the how long we've got to wait until we get the next PTO race.
2 months. Just under 2 months. Well, again, hopefully 20 athletes on that start list. Mostly because I'm curious to see what happens with that Youri Keulen situation. If we have
Mm.
all 20 there, what's going to happen? So we'll see.
And when is the Olympics? When is the Olympic road race?
Road race or triathlon?
No, sorry, I didn't mean road. Olympic triathlon. It's
28th.
late here.
It's like the 29th and 30th of August? So
Yeah,
July?
okay. So
End of July.
yeah. So those people racing T100 London, we won't have any Olympic
No,
athletes in that.
no.
It'll be Spain that they'll come and join the T100 party in Ibiza in September.
But then we also have the fact that that's super close to the women's world champs, isn't it? It's the week after or the week
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, I think it's really close. Yeah.
So we'll see. Mate, that'll do us. I've had enough. If
Cool,
people want
cool.
to find out more, what do they need to do?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta, at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. You can join the Patreon group. You'll get access to the monthly bonus episodes, which this month there are two of. And we'll also put you in the social group. We give you access to the WhatsApp group. You don't have to be in there, but it is really active and really interesting place to be. Everyone's got a thought on something. Plus, it's a welcoming and friendly environment. None of this internet keyboard warrior trolling goes on in there. It's good fun with a good group of people.
It certainly is, Jimbo. A pleasure. We'll be back next week to talk about who knows what. Probably an interview or something. But until then, thanks for chatting.
Cheerio.